Jonah, we appreciate you joining us today. I know, when you come on our show, it's going to be wild and crazy. So just buckle up for that. And always remember never to raw dog underneath your quarters. That's just for you and anybody else that comes in contact with you. All right. So the Cowboys got a chance. Well, we got a chance to hear from the Cowboys assistant coaches the other day. A lot of positive things came out of those conversations. A lot of optimism come out of those conversations. Is this something that you feel like, there's some things that they were saying that I can kind of really hold on to? Or are you just saying, I'm so done with the word salad, I need to see the action on the field?
Yeah, absolutely. Number two. And if you're a fan of the Cowboys, I don't think, how could you possibly stick with, option one there? Talk is cheap, especially when, Jerry Jones has been doing it for as long as he has and trying to sell hope to the fan base. And listen, it's a new regime. A lot of these guys are unproven. I like the message that they want to be a more aggressive, hit you in the mouth type of team because, you look at a squad like Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions. That was a team that used to just get run over. And then Campbell comes in and kind of changes the whole culture, whole identity. Now teams play the Lions and the following week, it's almost like a guaranteed loss. That's how physically imposing the Lions have become. So I feel like that is maybe what the Cowboys should strive for. So when they say aggressive and physical, I mean, that would, ideally be the fit. But yeah, I'm not reading too much into any of this because there are still so many factors at play, from the personnel they have to bring in the offseason, the players they have to draft well, which they haven't done in recent years. And then, of course, what is the front office going to do to help this team? So there's so much that is more than just, their plans. There's other components to it. So let's get to week one, and then I'll give you a better answer.
We got to talk till week one, man. We got to analyze this a daily show, man. We just can't
right,
fast forward to the season. Yesterday, the NFL came out and they're going to up the salary cap at least $20 million. You brought it to the front office. What is Jerry Jones going to do with this money? They're going to be like the Eagles. They're going to be like the Rams. Are they going to go all in? What's your feeling, and what do they need to do?
I think there's been a good blueprint laid out by some other teams. The Eagles really just nailed everything last offseason, and that, I don't know if that's sustainable for every other team, but when they go out and get a guy like Zach Bond and he turns into this just like all-pro type player, that's kind of what the Cowboys need to do with some of their moves. I could see Osa possibly coming back. We saw him tweeting about everybody eating. I mean, he's become an impact player. I'd say start in the trenches because that's where football's won and lost. You see all the teams that go deep into the playoffs. They have got strong D lines and offensive lines. I know skill players are flashy. As long as the Cowboys address the lines, I think they'll, set themselves up for success down the road. But finding veteran free agents who are maybe on a 1 or 2 year deal that still have something in the tank. This is what the Cowboys probably should have done with Derrick Henry last year, among a whole number of guys, but they didn't. And so that's something where winning teams will draft well, sign veteran free agents on 1 or 2 year deals that kind of help change the culture, can still play. Maybe a guy like Aaron Jones to help bolster the running back depth. Maybe a receiver. There's going to be tons of receivers that are potentially available in free agency. So bringing guys in who can make an impact that is more than just, backups, third stringers. But again, it remains to be seen. We thought we would see this last year, and they did next to nothing. So it's really incumbent on the front office to kind of get their butts in gear. And with the cap going up, there really are no excuses.
Jonah, this reminds me of our golf games because I've got to do something that you can't right now. And you talked. I'm gonna promote your stuff because you talked to Milton Williams' dad. You talk about free agents, and this is a guy that Milton Williams is from the 817. He would fit really, really well into this Cowboys defensive line if you're trying to emulate what the Eagles are doing. One, tell us about that, and what do you think about the Cowboys actually potentially maybe using this money to actually go make a big move?
Yeah, it was cool. I got to sit down with Milton's folks the other day, and they're very proud parents of their Super Bowl champion son who had that breakout performance in the Super Bowl, a couple of sacks, strip sack on Mahomes. That was the final dagger. I actually asked them about upcoming free agency for him, and the message I got from them was, he's been to the Super Bowl twice, he got a ring, and while he loves Philadelphia, this is these opportunities don't come around, often for football players. A second contract, do what he did in the Super Bowl. He has a chance to make a whole lot of money in free agency. So I get the sense that he's going to go wherever he gets the best offer. If Philly comes close to matching it, then maybe he'll stick around with the Eagles. But it seems like kind of a foregone conclusion he's going to be going to the suitor that offers him the most. I did ask them, how would they feel about the Cowboys? And of course, they're clad in Eagles gear and Nike Eagles sneakers. And then his dad just goes, "Then we're going to be Cowboys fans." And his mom, his mom grew up a Cowboys fan of the triplets and Jimmy Johnson era, and has kind of become detached since that era, like, maybe some other Cowboys fans have, but they would embrace it. They still live in Crowley, Texas, and, I'm sure they would love to have their son down the road, but I think they're kind of focused on wherever the best offer comes, that's where he's going to go. And listen, he would be an incredible fit. All he does is, work hard and kind of, do things in quiet, and he really made a name for himself in the Super Bowl. But he's going to be going for what? I haven't checked the exact numbers, but like 20 plus mil probably for Milton,
no doubt.
Which is like, and I could see like the Arizona Cardinals potentially looking for somebody like that, especially with their head coach being the one who drafted him, or playing a role in drafting him a few years ago in Philly. So other teams are going to be of interest, but yeah, he would be a great fit in Dallas for a number of reasons, for sure.
Yeah, I've been talking to his family since before the draft. I know you talked to his family, and Milton Williams has a Super Bowl party at Playmakers on Saturday night.
This Saturday.
Saturday night, he has a play.
You gonna go, Clarence?
I'm trying, man. I'm trying to get there, man. His dad been hitting me up about going to that party, so I know, and we're gonna try to get him on the show either late this week or next week as he heads into free agency. But yeah, he would be a great option. To me, it's like Milton Williams or Oso. You can't have them both. Who do you pick? Who you gonna give that money to? Because both are gonna command around the same salary. I think Milton gives you more from a pass rush standpoint. One thing I want to ask you though, and certainly we are still dealing with the Luka hangover. Everybody in DFW is still dealing with the Luka hangover. Can you compare the two fan bases? Who's more upset right now? Cowboy fans or Maverick fans?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
I don't think it's close.
Tough. That's tough. I feel like a lot of Mavericks fans are still going through it because, you go from the finals and your franchise player gets traded away for the silliest of reasons. And I feel like maybe Cowboys fans are hardened and conditioned by now, and that at this point they're just kind of, used to it. And, that the shoe has already dropped, and they're kind of just waiting to be surprised by the team positively, whereas the Mavericks were riding high and were kind of blindsided in a negative way. It's funny to me because,
it better be funny.
It better be funny.
It's not that funny. I'm not that funny. I grew up in the 90s. So like I caught the kind of the tail end of the Aikman era. And so I obviously knew about those Super Bowl teams of the 90s. But they're poor kids in like grad school and med school have never seen the Cowboys go to the NFC Championship game. Like there's a whole era of Cowboys fans that have just seen
my kids
mediocrity, which is insane because us, I guess I don't know if I'd call myself an old head, but they're old heads who have seen the glory days for this franchise, but there's a whole generation now that hasn't seen anything. So I'd say the Cowboys fans are more conditioned to it. Mavs fans are still trying to figure it out. I'm going to be at that game Friday against the Pelicans. I don't know if this All-Star break will have finally kind of helped them hit the reset and where they're at on the stages of grief. But, man, that arena is weird. There's some fans cheering. The other half is screaming, "Fire Nico," and wearing and holding up signs and wearing weird shirts. And it is a weird time in Mavs land for sure.
All right, Joe, the last one, 60 seconds. The Cowboys coaches spoke about, getting Dak Prescott back in the running game again. Good idea, bad idea? What do you think about that?
They've been talking about that for how many years now? It feels like the start of every season, Dak's going to be doing more with his legs, and then the game starts, and it's like, not really. It'd be good for that to happen because it adds an element that the defense has to account for. I felt like when he had some of his better years, he was scrambling a bit more. But then again, he's, not some spring chicken, 24-year-old kid anymore. And he has to protect his body, especially with the number of injuries he's had. So that's all well and good. I am curious to see how this new offense takes shape. And, if they're able to kind of set up more play action pass, he might not need to use his legs as much. But that's incumbent on them getting the right personnel and scheming it up the right way and having success against a lot of good defenses in the NFC.
We all silly like the mayor.